Here's a little question. Why does everyone think that victims of rape are making it up? I literally do not get it. Well, maybe I do.
Well, Laci, depending on who is being accused, for example, movie stars or popular authors, are great sources of cold hard cash. Which is why, as we'll see with the Cosby case, people will doubt the accuser because of the large monetary gain that the accuser can receive from settling out of court or get for compensation for emotional or psychological damage if the accuser is found guilty. There is also the fact that even an unfounded accusation can ruin the careers of anyone, be they famous or just your average Joe. And, to top it all off, in all states, a rape conviction will lead to you being put on the sex offenders registry. And in some states, that's for life. And that can ruin people. Yes, folks, it's time to respond to Laci Green. So I thought we'd tackle an older, but still relevant topic. Rape and false rape accusations. So welcome everyone to Facts Versus number 4. Laci can't comprehend false rape accusations.
Hey everyone, Laci Green here. There's kind of a huge awareness movement happening right now around sexual assault. If you haven't noticed, come join the living. One of the highest profile conversations has been about Bill Cosby. 35 different women have accused him of sexual violation.
There has been, in recent decades, a tremendous uptick in conversations on sexual violence. Amazingly, however, the vast majority of them always center on what a man did, or could do to a woman, if A, either laws aren't passed to restrict their actions, or B, if we don't force down men's throats that they are all rapists and feminists need to teach men not to rape. Case in point, Bill Cosby's rape accusers. Yes, 35 women have accused him of rape and sexual assault, but so far, apart from articles on the Huffington Post and similar news sites, covering why we should just believe the claims and not ask for evidence of any sort, I have not seen a single shred of evidence to prove rape.
Close to 90 universities are also under federal investigation for failing to address sexual assault on their campuses. Now there's a new documentary out, which I'm dying to see, called The Hunting Ground, which profiles several students who have been assaulted. By telling their stories, The Hunting Ground may be directly confronting one of the biggest barriers sexual assault survivors face. Nobody believes them and thinks that they're lying.
The universities and colleges that are being investigated for Title IX violations are for procedural and administrative issues. These investigations are not looking specifically into each and every rape, sexual assault, and harassment case that has happened at each school. Instead, they're looking into whether or not these institutions followed state and federal law regarding Title IX violations by students and faculty. Now, this documentary called The Hunting Ground has been criticized by many as propaganda to promote harassment against men and to enforce vaguer laws on what actions by men constitute rape. Feminist professor Christina Hoff Sommers has come out strongly opposed to the film and its message. To quote Caroline Kitchens from the American Anti-Christ Institute series, The Factual Feminist, the film uses flawed statistics. It repeats over and over that discredited claim that 20% of female students will be sexually assaulted during their time at college. This estimate is based on the non-representative surveys of college students that use vaguely worded questions. According to the Bureau of Justice Statistics, the correct number is not 1 in 5, but more like 1 in 53. Now, 1 in 53 is still far too many, but to take that and inflate it to 1 in 5 is absurd, and it's blatantly misinforming people about what's going on in college in regards to rape.
35 women have spoken out, and Cosby still has ardent defenders and gets standing ovations on his national tour. Think about that. If 35 women can come forward and still be doubted, what chance does one woman have?
Well, Laci, yes, it seems hard to believe that 35 women could all be lying, but that still doesn't excuse your refusal to wait for evidence of their claims. Cosby still has defenders because these claims haven't been given enough supporting evidence. Until we see some proof that Cosby could have committed these acts, all these women are just detractors or attention seekers looking for some cash. The number of people that are making a claim against someone shouldn't matter. What is important to the courts, and what should be important to us, is corroborating evidence. And to top it off, he's only being prosecuted for actions against one of the women. So it appears to me that he wasn't enough proof to support the other's claims. And Laci, the number of people shouldn't matter. Yes, 35 women all accusing someone is suspicious, but just because 35 women accuse someone of something doesn't mean they're all right. They all could be lying. It's a possibility. Numbers don't matter in this case, at least when it comes to number of people. It's like if 35 people accused you of stealing something. Well, gosh, 35 people accused you. You have to have done it. There's just, no way you couldn't have. It's just that silly, Laci.
Even more interesting is the fact that literally nobody paid attention to these women until a man, Hannibal Buress, spoke up about it.
From my research, the actor and comedian Hannibal Buress did talk briefly about the accusations against Cosby during a stand-up routine, and that led to many finding out about the accusations and the fact that the courts only charged him in regards to the accusations made by the first woman. The fact that Hannibal is male is probably irrelevant because a large factor might have been the size of his audience that night, the number of his fans in general. You give no proof that his gender mattered, just that he was famous to some degree and that he was a man. Well, God, you could say that his skin color mattered just as much. Yeah, he was a black man. So, obviously, because he was black, his accusation, he helped shed light on everything because he was black. That's stupid. Just as stupid as saying that, it's because he was a man that did it. No, it's just so happened that a famous comedian, a reasonably well-famous comedian probably, spoke up about it, and voila, people found out. Nothing more to it.
Seriously though, y'all, why don't people trust rape survivors? I think there's a related trend here. People don't trust women. It took a super viral video showing how a woman was treated walking down the street for society to acknowledge that, okay, maybe street harassment is a real thing.
Laci, darling, if I, a white man, were to walk up to the police or anyone and scream that someone raped me, and I presented no evidence whatsoever at all to back up my claims, then guess what? I wouldn't be believed either. The fact, even if I had proof of rape, the CDC and most world governments don't consider forced envelopment, aka forced to penetrate, actual rape. While in the US, women have made cases stating that their husband's or boyfriend's refusal to have sex is at least sexual assault and at worst rape because they're holding their sexuality hostage, they're holding sex hostage, and it's stupid. It's fucking stupid. Anyway, the viral video about the woman walking down the street has also been proven to misrepresent its claims. The woman spent hours walking down the street in New York City and went to several different places while walking, but less than 30 minutes are shown in the video, and it jumps from many different streets. Not to mention that most of the attention that the woman received were compliments and greetings. Catcalls were a severe minority. It's clear that they didn't have much harassment recorded, or anything that could be construed as harassment, so they cut down the video and just said, "Trust us, she totally experienced harassment the entire time." Hundreds of people have made videos, hour, 2 hour, 3 hour long videos of hot women walking down the street, and most of what they get are greetings. How are you doing today? Good to see you. You look nice. Some of them do get catcalled. But catcalls are, in almost every video, a severe minority of interactions. I mean, they even use in the original video an example of a man saying, "Hi, how are you?" as an example of harassment, and it's not. Just because you don't like some random guy saying, "How are you today?" or "Hello," doesn't mean you were harassed. Just means that you can't stand talking to people if you don't talk to them first.
Studies have demonstrated that even in the face of hard evidence, men still don't believe that female scientists face sexism in the workplace. They think that women are making it all up. The society-wide belief that women are liars stems in part from the belief that women are overly emotional, irrational, crazy, or hysterical.
Laci, let's get one thing straight. Just because more women choose not to go into STEM fields doesn't mean that there's sexism in them. Just means that those aren't fields of study women like. With that out of the way, studies show that between male and female brains have more white matter, thus allowing them to express emotions and be able to read others' emotions better. Men, on the other hand, have increased gray matter, which allows men to concentrate better on a task or topic and gives them a better memory retention. Unfortunately, these benefits for either sex sometimes can be expressed in extreme manners. For instance, men can focus too much on one task and thus become absent-minded about other tasks. You know, like, honey, didn't you say you were going to take out the garbage? Oh, yeah, sorry, forgot. You know, that sort of thing. Anyway, women, conversely, can end up over-expressing their emotions, which can lead to mild cases of hysteria, and is the reason they get called emotional. Now, the last time I checked, not once have I heard someone solely use a woman's mental state as a defense to ignore her claims of rape. Anytime a woman's mental state is used, it's a backup to prove dysfunctional and dangerous behavior of that woman.
Over at Very Smart Brothers, Damon Young writes about realizing his deeply held belief that women aren't as trustworthy as men. He cites women's crazy overreactions being the butt of the joke in stand-up comedies, the plot line of books and movies, and the crux of most of the conversations he's had with other men about women. Because women's feelings can't be trusted, our experiences and our very sense of reality aren't to be trusted either.
Well, Laci, as I have pointed out, because of the brain chemistry of women, they have a greater tendency to see things or to exaggerate events. I would argue that even in women, it's still uncommon for them to become hysterical and over-emotional. But there are plenty of men and women who have dealt with these kinds of women so often that they have serious traumatic interactions and experiences with these women that asking if they're sure is just a natural safeguard against such behavior. Skepticism doesn't always come from such sexist attitudes. Wanting proof or looking for proof is a basic tenet of science and is for the criminal justice system, except when it comes to rape, domestic violence, and child custody, thanks to the feminist papers like the Duluth Model and the Tender Years Doctrine and the Violence Against Women's Act. All of these have forced courts to automatically blame the men even if he is the victim.
So our distrust of women is deeply ingrained, and I think that it fuels distrust of rape survivors. Rape victims are nearly universally doubted, and paranoia about them lying dominates every conversation. Even as studies estimate that only 2 to 5% of rape reports contain falsehoods. Compare that to false theft reports, which are at about 10%.
The reason men are afraid of women lying about rape and sexual assault is because of the Duluth Model. Men are now assumed guilty until proven innocent. Thus, men don't want to take the chance of a consensual one-night stand being turned into a rape because she regretted it afterwards. And not to mention that the woman's name is always protected from the media, and the accused, well, no matter what the man's name is, it's dragged through the mud regardless of innocence. And to top it off, let's not forget the double standard of drunk sex. Women are not responsible for their actions no matter how drunk or sober they are, while men are completely responsible no matter how drunk or passed out he is. Look at Amy Schumer's rape of a drunk man, and the case of Brock Turner for great examples of women not being responsible for their actions because they were drunk. Amazing. And the lowest percent that any study shows for false rape reports is 5%, while the highest has been in the double digits, Laci. No study has presented a 2% stat for false accusations.
The amount of people who distrust survivors is hugely disproportionate to the reality of sexual assault. Male rape survivors aren't believed either, but for a different set of reasons. There's a degrading myth that men can't be raped because they're animals that always want sex. He must have wanted it, right? Wrong. The distrust and paranoia ultimately makes it harder for victims to get justice and maintains the power of rapists because they know they won't be held accountable. 97% of rapists never face any punishment.
Wow, you actually got something right, Laci. Congratulations. Male rape victims are not believed. The male rape victims that aren't believed, though, are the victims of a female perpetrator. And as I've said before, most countries, and even our own CDC, don't consider female rape of men to be rape. So, yeah. Talk about, not believing rape victims. Men can accuse women of rape, and it gets shoved off. It doesn't happen. It's impossible. While women can scream that, oh, he looked at me, so he raped me, and the man's arrested, his name is spread out all across the U.S. to be slandered, and, that's justice. It's bullshit. Now, maybe 97% of accused rapists don't face any punishment, because in that 97% are the false accusations that get thrown out because people still think he did it, and the claims did not have enough proof to convict the perpetrator. Or, there just wasn't enough proof in general to prove one way or the other that anything happened.
So, too long didn't read version, women aren't crazy liars, men aren't inherently more trustworthy just because they're men, and using this bullshit against people who are victims of a violent crime is messed up. So, let's not.
Now for my too long didn't read version. Women can lie, so don't trust them right off the bat. Men and women can both be raped, no matter who the rapist is. And, yes, blaming the victim's wrong, but telling the victim that, not doing something or doing something can prevent rape or, make rape less likely to happen isn't victim blaming.